evening. I would like to call the March 4th work session and special call meeting to order. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Can I have a motion to approve the special call meeting agenda as written?
I move that we approve of the special call meeting as presented.
Second motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Madam President, number 3, we have approval of teacher salary scales for the 26-27 school year.
Any questions or concerns? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second the motion.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed?
Madam President, number 4, we have approval of out-of-state overnight activity trip.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve of out-of-state overnight activity trip.
Second motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Number 5, approval of the 25-26 Macomb School District calendar revision.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed?
Number 6, we have personnel recommendation, policy CEP.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve of personnel recommendations.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed?
Number 7, we have M3A AIA change order.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve of M3A AIA change order.
Any questions or concerns?
Question.
Ms. Martin?
For, well, I don't even know where to begin, but if there's an explanation for this, and we would like to hear it, I will.
Ms. Martin, we do have a representative here from M3A, that's specifically why they're here.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Good to see you. Thank you for having us here. I'd like to give a quick explanation. First, for a handout as a reference. So, get the original. All right. Let's start with the original. Red is what changed to. And first and foremost, my name is Christopher Lodge. I'm here representing M3A. I'm the Senior Project Manager and Construction Manager. This is Bill Russell, part of my staff. Mr. McElroy says his rest he couldn't be here, but he sent us in his absence. So there are 2 documents that we have here. One would be the black and white document, which is going to represent the original fencing scope. If you look at it, that original fencing scope, you see the new building coming from the top of the page. The fencing is represented in a line and a circle. It goes up and over to the right, all the way down, then over to the left, and then halfway in the middle of the site it goes up, and then it terminates to the west into the building that you see it terminates into. So that was the original scope, and addendum 2, that was priced. And so that really just went around the building that was added and the adjacent building that's to the southwest of that of the new building. The next reference drawing that you have are the changes. So these changes, the change in scope came about last year, and then we had a stop in construction. So that discussion was starting up back then, and now we're getting to the point where we're actually implementing, getting it around the whole site. So if you look at the reference that had the color, what was added truly was the lines that you see on the left-hand side in purple and red. However, the change in scope came from this yellow L shape that goes up the middle of the site and turns left. Is now flipped over and is encompassing the back portion, the southwest corner of the site, to then create a security fencing around the whole campus, if you will. So what was in scope was what you see on the gray. What was out of scope is from the yellow line on the color drawing all the way up until you see the red 2 lines that are encompassing between the 2 existing buildings. And so that's what the change order represents.
So I guess my question is, Superintendent Vic, last board meeting, the board approved, I think it was almost $70,000. So what extra is this? Because right here it's saying it's another $12,000 and another $2,000. So that's almost $14,000 more dollars on top of the almost $70,000 that was approved last month.
No, ma'am, to my understanding, there's no change in dollars.
So-
Other than what we approved last month.
No, if you look at this right here, it has clear expectation of associated costs to the total sum of $13,167.
What are you referencing here?
Ms. Brown, because the total's still $97,000.
Yeah, it's still $97,000.
That's what we approved at the last board meeting.
The total change in the contract is $97,000 some odd dollars. Those other RFCs are handled with contingency funds. They don't have to be, those don't have to be rolled through. That's the way we've handled them in the past. It's just they noted them in this AIA change. So one of them is for the sockets.
Right, and that's handled through contingency.
Yes. So that's not adding to the contract, that's spending out of the contingency fund that's already approved.
Okay, and if that's the case, then it should have been listed separately, labeled contingency fund.
So for this one here, we're doing it out of change order. So we're not using the contingency funds. We want a clean slate to just have that price here.
Yes.
There could be a case in the end where there is contingency money that could be then placed subsequently to cover that cost. And that would be something that would be applied at the end of the project. But for this one, we really need to make it a clean slate to say that this effort for the additional scope and fencing needed to come outside the contract amount. Does that make sense?
That's on page 13 in your packet, where it's a clean change order to increase the contract amount by, let's see if I can read, by $97,815, which that part is already been approved.
I'm let me say it like this. There has been some confusion
Yes, sir.
as far as this process.
Yes, sir.
And And that's the reason why, the board has had issues and concerns
Yes, sir.
with this process.
Right.
Because, as far as what was going to take place, and then find out that it was not going to take place.
Right.
And we're dealing with not just pennies.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct. Understood.
So it's not, and I hope that I'm not coming over as in a particular way. I'm just putting it out there the way it is.
You want to
So you
clear
can
understand?
understand why the concerns are.
Yes, sir.
And when when we were under the impression that certain things were going to take place, and that's what we gauged on.
Yes, sir.
Now you're saying that in order to get what we thought we were getting, funds have to be allocated differently, which comes to a sum of, what do you say, 97?
97,000 here.
Okay. Now, arbitrarily, with just that amount, do we have to anticipate any other?
So for the effort for the security fencing, that is it. There's no other costs associated with that scope of work, that added scope of work. In the beginning, like I said, for addendum 2, what I've highlighted here in green is what the contractor had in price, and it might have been a miscommunication, misinterpretation that went all the way around the site, but this is the original drawings with addendum 2 that show that the security fencing only encompasses this particular area that you see in green. The new one, though, however, has altered this from terminating on this side to then being placed here. So all of this is in the scope.
So that's my question. So why was that not a part of the original?
I think there might have been a miscommunication in what was expected.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's my question. How was it miscommunicated?
I can't answer that particular.
That's
I can't
where I'm
answer
stuck.
that, yeah. Just to be transparent.
Yeah, and kind of, for me, along with what Dr. Burks is saying, from what I understood, the entire campus was going to be fenced in. When I look at this, it says something about ornamental fence, and to me, that's different than what a security fence would be. I'm also seeing something on here that talks about some kind of clear width single gate. There's other language in here where you're speaking of, because I've worked on that campus years ago. So the buildings are small pods, and it looks like there's little red gashes here where you plan to put
Fencing with a gate, yes, ma'am. Yes,
in order to secure the campus.
yes, ma'am.
And my thing with that is, and I think that's where I was beginning with my question. I'm a visual person. If you want me to learn something, you got to show me what the finished product is going to look like, so that there is no misunderstanding.
Yes, ma'am.
And we've never, I don't recall us having, even as you're saying, the old portion of this, which had I looked at this, I would have said, no, that's not acceptable because it doesn't include the entire campus. All you have on the old is the new building, which never would have made sense. And that's what I have an issue with is, I think on the back part of the campus, on the new, it says something here about adjust power for automated gate option can be sourced from electrical meter box owner provided for relocated portable classrooms located in this area. I don't even know if we've ever talked about one of the portable buildings that are there. And so there's a lot of uncertainty and unclarity here for what we're going to end up with in the finished product in the complete price tag. And so that's what I would have an issue with, is knowing what this is going to look, because there's a back part of the campus where people enter, bring in the food for the cafeteria, what have you. And so it would be good to know what the finished product is gonna look like in terms of securing the entire campus. And that's where I am, is having things added when it was put to us as if once the new portion was done, the entire campus would be fenced in, not with an ornamental fence, but a security fence. So, and what is the difference when you describe it as an ornamental fence?
So there were a couple of different things that you said there. Typically, when one hears about a security fence, they hear the chain link fences. That's something I don't think you want, that kind of look. So if you look at the page that's here, it will show you the iron rod fence that's there. That's the look of it, the feel of it. But it's at a certain height that it provides some security. Anybody can scale the fence, but you don't want chain link fences around the building. So that answers that one, I hope. There are certain areas though, when we had communications at the OAC meetings, that there needed to be automated gates instead of manual gates. And so it allowed for flow to go easy in and out. And so that's where the automated gate locations were chosen there. But the rest of them would be where you have egress going out. So you have panic hardware where you push the gate out. If you had a crowd of people coming, you wouldn't want to unlatch the gate per se, but you do want it to latch when it's closed. So self-closing, being able to push it out when there's an emergency, a crowd of people going out towards the path of egress. In the beginning, I can't quite say, because I wasn't on it in the inception of the building, as far as like the conversations of, is it going around the whole site? However, I think the interpretation the project manager who first got it thought it was just enclosing around the building and then terminating at the most adjacent building in the back, almost in the middle of the site. Subsequent conversations, though, that happened after the project came back online was, hey, we don't want this. We actually want it going around. And so that would have been after the contractor priced everything out, looking at what we see and bring here. And so once we got that, it said, okay, now that we came back online, we know exactly what we want, we got a little bit more interpretation of it, it encompassed the whole site. And that's when we come up to having the change order, which in some sense, you would have paid for it in the beginning, but you're paying for it now that we have the scope finally realized.
But that's not mine. I understand what I'm saying. But my major point is this. We are responsible, as you know, for making this financial decision.
Yes, sir.
It's not money that's coming particularly out of our pockets.
Yes, sir.
We have constituents that we have to represent.
Yes, sir.
And we have to consider that when we're making a decision. And when I look at your architectural design here, and I see indicators that you have indicated here that says can be. I'm not comfortable with that because that leaves an area open to come back later to say this needs to happen. And I can't go along with that thought.
So to fill in the gap, when you see this particular document here, this is a document that was produced that didn't have a dialogue between owner and contractor. So the options that you have here are the options that were presented. Once those options were sanctioned by ownership, they were put into play. And you get the final change order that doesn't have options. It demonstrates that here, we want automatic gates. Here, we want manual gates. Those manual gates, because they're in the path of egress, would have push bars, a certain latch on it, and all that information, the product information that you're talking about, then it then comes into a shop drawing that we review and say, yes, that meets the design intent per talking to the contractor, if we're talking to owner's representation.
The way you're saying this is not required.
So, yes, so just to speak to it was 2 exercises conducted with this design, this new design that you're seeing. We priced for automatic gates and 1 for manual gates. And that's all the options that are.
And so some areas, like I said, needed to be augmented so that it would make a smooth transition with the traffic coming in and out, which is probably more frequent. And others were more in case of emergency, if you will, so they would handle.
Well, I just have, the problem I just have, I don't want to have to come back and say, we thought like what we are now. Because there's room for another misunderstanding. When we say can be, or can happen.
Yeah, so I would look at this particular document as the document that helped us get to the final. The final document isn't necessarily represented by this. It's representing options that we took and showed you the pathway of how we got to this particular point, where we are now saying certain gates, these 2 gates are automated, and the rest of the gates are manual, and the type of hardware and so on. So what happens at this particular point is with this approved, the contractor will now submit shop drawings that shows exactly what we're getting. And we can also share that once we get it, but we will be in charge of making sure it meets the design intent based on the conversations we had up to this point.
And ultimately it provides a reassurance that it secures the building all the way around.
Yeah, that's the main concept is that the babies are protected.
Yep.
And staff, and that's the only reason why, my consideration was placed is this board has approved it. Because the campus has to be protected.
Yes, sir.
And my concern along the same line is, I guess as we're saying, what we have here is a bird's eye view. But what will it look like at eye level, in that the way it is now, you have extreme hills on one side, and then at the back part of the campus is actually a lot lower. So how would you put a fence in there except you're actually giving it, as we learned the other day, curb appeal, in order for it to look and make sense for maintaining the lawn that's there. So are you saying that we're gonna actually have photos, artist renditions of what the finished product will look like?
What we could do, and MWA is willing to do that, is give you a simulation of what that looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
simulation.
that would make
We can do
sense.
that.
It'll make so much more
Yeah, we
sense.
can do that.
Because we also concerned about, on that back end, when there's a fluctuation of overage of water, rain, that if you got a fence there, sometimes the foundation dissipates.
Right.
So how are we going, how's that going to be handled?
Right.
Cemented or what?
Yeah, it's cement. So you can see just a little bit of how it's going to be done for that detail here.
It's for right now.
On the color version. And on the black and white. So it's deeply stable and a firm foundation for each post that's supporting the gate itself. But yeah, we are definitely willing to show you rendition of how that looks, especially with the hills and undulating topo. Yeah, we can do
And
that.
I think he's also speaking to that back where it slants
Yep.
down, there's gonna be a lot of watershed there.
Right.
Today when we were up there looking, we saw there had been some, culverts.
Wash off, yeah,
Wash off,
yeah.
so if you can show that to them too,
Okay.
that'll probably help them.
And I think inside of the seed and sodding and just how they maneuver the fence, when they actually do the final grade is a part of that. But we can do a rendition, so that you can see it visually, even before they go into, the contractor goes into actually implement the gates themselves.
But if you don't mind sending that to the superintendent, he can get it to us.
Okay.
And my last concern is this. What guarantee do we have as a board that after the project is complete, you end up with usage, and there are concerns?
Yeah.
What guarantee do we have that you all are going to handle those concerns?
Yeah, so if you have anything that comes up within a year, usually it's within a year after construction, you have that time period to then say, hey, we're experiencing some problems with this or that. bring it to M3A's attention, we'll then bring it back to the contractor, but the contractor's on the line for the installation for at least 1 year. And so then we can handle it. But it's important to be vocal and be visual. If you see something, say something. Yeah. Yes, sir.
That's why I'm asking that question.
Yeah. So it's contacting us.
It's a 1-year warranty.
It's a 1-year warranty on installation. Now the products themselves and this and that, it's a longer warranty. But as far as the installation, the craftsmanship, the workmanship, it is always a year.
And all of that documentation will be provided once you receive your closeout documents.
Right. And that's, it's in the contract you have with the contractor. Yes, sir.
I just want to make it, I saw it in the contract, I just want to make sure there has not been unforeseen change.
At this time, do we have any more questions?
I think the concerns that I have maybe for us and the superintendent as far as what exists there currently. Because right now, as I mentioned a minute ago, we have 2 portable buildings. The decision needs to be made as to whether or not we're going to keep those buildings in there before, I would think before the fencing is done. And then we also have 2 buses there that we use. I think it's like a Z Space Lab. And I wondered, are we still using those 2 buses? Because to me, that needs to be moved or relocated or whatever the case may be. That may be something to discuss later on in that we want to make sure that when the site is complete, that we pretty much have what we're in need of in order for it to be functional.
Yes, ma'am, we're gonna address the trailer in the bus, this morning. I guess the main thing we want tonight was to get this approved so we be ready to move forward. We have had several discussions on what to do about the trailer as well as the bus, and that's definitely gonna be addressed.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Any more questions or concerns? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay?
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Number 8, approval of change of school board meeting date.
Do I have a motion?
So many
Questions?
We didn't hear a second.
Ma'am,
We did not hear a second on the change orders.
we had a second before they came up. Who second? Well,
I second the motion.
she made the motion. We did a second. Dr. Burns had seconded. That's what it seconded. And it was 3 ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you.
Who's the name? Me. Thank you.
Number,
We on number 8.
Right.
She made it.
Yeah, I move that we approve changing the board meeting date.
I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? I have a statement on our calendar. The date was March 17th, which was a typo. Our actual meeting is March 16th. So at this time, we are changing the date to Monday because we do our board meetings on Monday, and next week is spring break. And because of spring break, we pushed it out to the following Monday. So our board meeting will be March the 16th here in the boardroom at 5:30. Any more questions or concerns? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? At this time, we need to, I need a motion to go into closed determination on whether or not to go into executive session.
So moved.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Dr. Mason, you may say, at this time, we're gonna have a closed determination on whether or not we're going to executive.
receive it. Ms. Wilson.
At this time, we come out of executive session, we had one student issue. I need a motion to adjourn the special call meeting and call the work session to order, please.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The first thing on the, work session meeting is, Mr. Vick?
We have Fidelity Investment, presentation. Smith, Shellnup, and Wilson. Ms. Fields.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me. I have provided you with a copy of your investment report. That is this report as of February 28th. So it's pretty just for this meeting. Happy to be here to give you all an update on your investment portfolio. Macomb School District entered into an agreement with Smith Shellnup Wilson. We're a registered investment advisor located in Ridgeland. We're actually the largest registered investment advisor in the state of Mississippi. You have been investing with us since January 31st, 2022. This was an agreement that was approved by your board in November of 2021. On January 31st, 2022, the school district invested $7,085,645.34 with Smith Shellnup Wilson to be your investment manager. And most of you probably will recall that in May of 2025, the district had to make a withdrawal of $3,600,000. So the remaining of your original investment is $3,485,645. And this report will give you a summary of where the investment portfolio is at present. On page 3 of the report, it breaks down the percentage of the investment. As of February 28th, there was $142,078 in cash and $3,997,864 market value in securities, for a total portfolio value of $4,119,942. This portfolio composition report breaks down the types of securities that you have. But let me say that all the securities that are in your investment portfolio are fixed income securities, meaning they are government bonds, basically. Government bonds or municipal bonds. So all of the securities are fixed income, meaning that we buy them at a certain level. We don't purchase securities for you generally to trade at all. We purchase securities with the goals of investing over a period of time and having maturities to come off, roll off, so that we can invest as things in the market change. We always have an opportunity to take advantage of new investments. Moving on to page 4, this gives you the breakdown of how your investments will mature over the lifespan of the portfolio. The dark navy bar shows you the actual investments, and the light blue bars are intended as gold lines. The top line shows you that you have $1,449,175 projected to mature over the next year. Another $604,408 within 2 years. And you can see how your investments are scheduled to roll off over, within the next 10 years, with the weighted average life of the portfolio only being 3.4 years. That's versus a goal that we set of 4 years for this portfolio. The investments are considered an intermediate term. We usually set our school districts with a maturity range of 3 to 7 years. And we have your portfolio right now at a weighted average life of 3.4 years. So you have a pretty short-term investment portfolio, whereas the portfolio is, I guess, actually could be perpetual, and we managed it short, and we like the position of the portfolio at present. The characteristics of the portfolio are highlighted on page 5. I'll just point out the book yield is currently 4.12, and that is what you're going to earn. What the book yield tells you is where the investments were bought, and like I said, generally, we don't trade anything. The only reason we traded securities in 2025 was because of a need that the district had. So where we buy the securities, if you look on page 6, that last column gives you the book yield of each and every security. That runs all the way through the end of page 8. But every security that you have is described there. What's in cash? Fidelity actually has two buckets of cash. F cash is what they default to put cash in. We're constantly looking at that F cash bucket and moving cash over into the Fidelity government cash reserves, because you can see the difference in F cash earning 182 versus the Fidelity cash reserve earning 336. So our portfolio managers, whenever something matures or whenever it pays a coupon, bonds mature, or they pay, some bonds pay coupons semi-annually, and then some bonds pay back. If they're mortgage-backed securities, they may pay back principal and interest over time. So whenever cash hits your account, our portfolio managers are monitoring that first to make sure that we move it into the FDRXX, the Fidelity Cash Reserves, because it earns more than the standard cash money market account, the F cash. And then secondly, when it builds up enough, they're looking for new bonds to have the opportunity to purchase additional securities. And I say your portfolio managers, my relationship is I'm the relationship manager, I'm the point of contact for your business manager. I provide these reports on a quarterly basis. We also provide the net cash interest that the portfolio earns on a quarterly basis as well. The portfolio manager for the investment portfolios is actually a chartered financial analyst named Doug Williams, who's been in the investment business 20 plus years himself. Looking at the securities, again, government, the fixed income securities, starting at on page 6, there's a section of full faith and credit U.S. government bonds. And then on page 7, there's a section of agency mortgage-backed securities. And then there are some municipal bonds, Mississippi Hospital Equipment and State of Mississippi bonds, some Sarcomist and more State of Mississippi bonds, as well as some Mississippi Home Corporation bonds. But all of your investments are high quality securities. All of your investments are, first of all, what the state sectors allow school districts to be invested in. But secondly, they've been selected and they serve your portfolio well. Your portfolio yield, being above 4%, is probably one of the highest portfolio yields of the school districts that we manage. We manage investments for 18 school districts throughout the state, from DeSoto County down. And we probably have about 130 million total in investments with school districts. We've been doing this a long time. We feel like we have served school districts well. Your portfolio, if you look at page 10, those last, next to the last, not the last two columns, but the two columns before that, shows you how the average life of the portfolio has changed over the last 2 years, starting at 246, and it has extended to 340 where it is now. As I mentioned, your book yield has consistently pretty much been upward and is now at 412 on this run. Page 11 is a shock analysis. And what page 11 does is says the current market value of the securities was $3,977,864 at February 28. If interest rates go up or down, the value of the securities would change. If rates went up 1%, the value of the securities would go down to $3.8 million. If rates went down by 1%, the same securities at the same point in time would be worth $4,090,000. We've been in a low rate environment for a long time, and that's why I say Macomb got into their investment portfolio at a really good time. A lot of the school districts that we have came to us when just because banks weren't paying anything. You remember when CDs were paying 0 point something, 0.25. But you have built a good portfolio that should continue to serve the district well. It does build interest income, and that interest income is available to you if the need should arise. But ideally, this is a long-term investment. You let the investment continue to grow and continue to build value for you. I think even with the withdrawal the district has had, the portfolio continues to do well, and it continues to garner good net interest income. The net interest income for the fiscal year that started July 1, 2024, and went through June 30th, 2025. Of course, that was back when the portfolio had about $7 million for most of that time. But the net interest income that the portfolio generated was about $303,000. So that'll be less, maybe about half of that as we move forward on this balance. But the portfolio is doing well, earning well, full of solid, secure investments, and we look forward to continuing to work with you all. Any questions?
I don't have a question, I really just have a statement, because some information that you had at the beginning of your presentation was incorrect. We looked back and we found out that this was even an investment. The board at the time approved hiring y'all, but they never approved investing any money with the company. I thank God that the company that they did decide to invest with is a reputable company, because we did our background check and you are one of the top in the nation. And I thank you for that, but it was never board approved. the investments.
Well, that was reported to us that it was approved and an investment management agreement was signed based upon that. Because technically, any district that it does should have board approval.
We know now, we didn't know, and then, I mean, I wasn't on the board then, we had to play catch up when we found out that it was an investment, so we had to pull minutes, but we thank you for this presentation. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Dr. Burks? Oh, what?
Withdrawal, was there a penalty?
Was there a penalty for the withdrawal? I don't think the terminology penalty is appropriate to use, but on any given day, a bond has a value based upon where it's trading in the market. And so there may have been some decline in value based upon where it happens to have traded at that time. And I don't have that information with me, but I can get that for you.
Yeah, because I think that's very important for us to know as a board. Because up until now, we had not received, we received very limited information. Very limited. And what we got, what we did receive was not current, based upon, I think it was maybe one of the quarterly reports, and which did not give us this type of information.
Yeah, we do provide a report of this type quarterly. Now this style of report is from a new system that we changed over to effective July 1 of 2025. But a similar report was produced before, but we've always provided a quarterly report. And we provide those to the business manager. And we can, always make sure, they can always share that out.
It is shared out of the portal, right, we provided.
Well, we just found out about the investment, like I said earlier. We didn't know, this is the second document we have of this investment, we're moving forward. If the superintendent don't mind, when he receives the report to share with the board, no matter who's sitting here, those procedures should be the same. The information should be given to the board members, because people take out sometimes.
No, we will make certain that the board gets the quarterly.
Anything else from Ms. Fields? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fields.
Thank you for having me.
At this time, we'll move on to the regular agenda. First, we'll have this call to order, McCollum School District Vision and Mission Statement. 30-second of silence, adoption of the agenda. Technology update by Mr. Biggs.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Vick has asked me to be a little bit more detailed because we've had some changes in the last couple of weeks, so I want to make sure that I cover those changes with the school board. So to start off with, I want to talk about the Wi-Fi access point that we've been installing district-wide. So we've ordered a total of 100 access points through the board, making that happen. We've installed 100% at the BNT campus, in other words, they're finished. We've done 90% at Denman. We've covered 85% of the high school campus. We've currently covered 50% of Higgins, with the goal to have Higgins at 85% before state testing starts. Kennedy currently, we've moved working older APs to that campus to make sure they're covered. The Denman campus, the high school campus, and part of Higgins campus is going to require some equipment that I don't currently have. So this summer, I'm going to pair with maintenance to make sure that those things are installed properly. I need additional ladder space, some things that we don't have access to right now. So those campuses will be finished after state testing for the rooms I can't get to, with maintenance help to make sure they're installed correctly. Currently, the APs that we've installed are exceeding performance. They are outperforming what we have by 100%. They're working well. We've already talked about the timeline for finishing those campuses. And our goal for next year that we mentioned with Ms. Hall, I've talked to her about, is to finish Kennedy with UAPs, but also to start extending those access points to Opkin and Summit, because those two campuses now have the oldest access points in the district. So we know that in the near future, we're gonna have problems there. We want to go ahead and address those proactively as next year starts. And he also wanted me to talk about the SLCGP, our cybersecurity grant. Currently, we've spent 30% of those funds. We are in the process of tagging the equipment that's come in. We've also started doing the reimbursements so the district will receive that money back. Part of that is though was waiting on the tagging to be finished to do so. Later in the agenda tonight, I'm going to continue to answer questions regarding the RFP that we have out for you, because I'm making a recommendation to this board meeting to do something that I think we need to wait to that point to talk about. I do want you to know that we've received 80% of the new switch hardware here for ISC, which is a problem the district has faced for the last 18 months to 2 years. We're going to do our best to make sure that that new equipment is installed prior to state testing so that they have the largest bandwidth and the best testing environment we possibly can before the big tests start rolling into April. We have also had an issue that Ms. Dillon mentioned about spam email and other issues that way with Canvas. First of all, I do want you to know that it's not a system error with technology. The issues we've had with spam are 100% user error. I don't want to say that the wrong way, but when someone clicks on a spam email and enters credentials into it, it creates a huge issue internally for a business. So that's something that we've been addressing. We're looking at, now meeting with staff to make sure this is doable. We're looking at a mandatory staff reset for all passwords for staff members, probably the week we come back from spring break. We don't want to do that with benchmark testing going on this week. So we want to make sure that happens in the very near future. We're also going to be pushing out some additional phishing training to staff members, and we are encouraging two-factor authentication this year that most likely will be mandatory as of July 1 of next year, which means if you're a staff that works from home, you will have to have a second way of authenticating your account to use our network. I also mentioned today, and this is the last thing I have for our updates, we currently use a Google Education free version for our email addresses and that part of our network. We are considering upgrading that to one of the paid versions because Google offers a lot of cyber tools, safety features that are only available when you pay for that service. So we're currently looking at pricing for that, see if we can possibly do that this school year, or if nothing else at the very start of next year's budget. So that's where I'm at right now with the updates. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Biggs?
And Mr. Biggs, we had our first we had our last Bitcoin test over the past 3 days, okay?
We did.
You address how our technology held up to that.
Yes. So Tuesday was probably our biggest day this week. Kids K-8 were taking algebra. The high school was doing testing as well for different subjects. We probably had a load on the network, comes to the Wi-Fi portion, at around 80%. It was the heaviest it's going to be during testing. Actually, more than we're going to use during state testing, because they're going to rotate which grades are testing during that time period. The network held up 100% of the way it was supposed to. Higgins had a few issues, but we don't think it was bandwidth with our actual new hardware. We believe that was the testing software. We were using Master Connect, which is a fantastic software, but we weren't the only one using it. It was being used statewide. So there was a little bit of lag on load time for tests. That was the only issue that we had Tuesday that was reported to me at all. That was our only little blip that we had Tuesday morning.
Sound like a win?
Thank you, Mr. Biggs.
Yes, sir.
Next on the agenda for Monday, March 16th. We're gonna have school at risk Higgins, school at risk Deming. Then we have review of minutes. Any questions or concerns about the minutes? Next, we have review and approval of financial statements. Any questions or concerns? Review and approval of claims docket. Any questions or concerns? Questions? Go ahead, Dr. Brooks. Superintendent Vick, we got another email with the explanation for you. we have to be more proactive. Macomb School District is a business. It's a district that educates, our business is to educate kids. So the business of paying the vendors in which we use needs to be our on-time business. This is a business, first and foremost. And our business is to educate our kids. And when we are not being proactive, we're reaching out to vendors or getting signatures from administrators. That's a procedural problem. Because the system is set up to do reminders of late payments. I mean, it's just set up like that. And we just had a training this week that was clear that if the information is put in accurate, it comes out accurate. And you can run programs. We have to get better at paying the bills. We cannot have these type of errors. It's just unacceptable to me. Dr. Burks?
That was a major portion of our training this week. Within the 4 to 5 day period, making sure our claims were paid. My question is, also on our claims document, is there are some claims that are not really clear, especially to a new board member, where you would understand where funds are going. Example, claim number 847539. Now, it says district-wide, but if it's district-wide, there are other claims that we have. We have different locations that we're paying, and it's identified. And I think that when we do claims that have multiple locations, that there needs to be a description that it was applied to this campus or that campus. If we're cutting trees over here, cutting trees left over here, we need to know what campus that is for, because I'd like to know what funds, the work has been done, and just arbitrary. I don't know where this electrical work was done. It just says district-wide. But we have a claim for $1,000 and some dollars. The other is, I'm confused, very confused on claim number 847542. And I wanted to ask, but I don't think it was the appropriate time to ask. It says additional service fee. What is this additional service fee for?
Dr. Burks, if you look at that picture they gave you, that will total up that amount. That's that.
Yeah, they just gave it to the
I know, they totaled that amount. That's 11,000.
Okay.
That's in the drop down.
But when we're reviewing this, that's okay. The other is claim docket number 847558. Mr. Dickey, you know where this work was done? For the doors, security doors?
So basically it's a PO. So the city paying labor just like for Watson Electric. So what they do, once they get approval to contract with the vendors, they do an open PO. So open PO is for any services they have to have. So if you all approve a PO for a contract or open PO for $10,000, they're gonna put it in for $10,000. So when they have to go and do something, they go ahead and do the work and they submit the invoice to that PO. So this PO, so basically this information that's on here is just saying what the PO is for, because it can be used for all locations. If you want to know specifically, what we would have to do is get a copy of the invoice, I get something from the, administrator to tell us what specifically was this for. But for the PO purposes, put in a PO. So if you approve a contract for $10,000 contract with Wallace Electric, then we put it in. So that's any electrical work throughout the district. So just say if something turns up in Macomb, they can go ahead and we have a PO. They just can't exceed the $10,000 that you all approved. So that's why I say all locations. So to kind of assist so you know where, so what we can do is, have type of something separate. But we can get you that information.
I'm looking at the, claim from page 7, where you have the breakdown. That's what I'm speaking in terms of.
Page 7.
I think it's page 7 or 8, where we have like a claim that has a breakdown. And I don't need to know specifically what was done.
Oh, no, listen, I can tell you the location. Because they do an open PO, because it's paid. They do an open PO like maintenance, does an open PO. That's just for all locations. So when they put it in, that's how they, that's the purpose district-wide electrical work. Or, so if something happens, they need something done, they can go ahead and do it and not exceed the 10,000. So that's why they get the contract approved at the beginning. So do I say so for the specific invoice, I'm gonna have to do the details, but I can, provide what location receives this work. If that, for the board meeting, I can do that for you.
But if you don't mind, Dr. Burson, and I will try to explain this a little better. When we approve an open PO, we approve in services to be done to X amount of dollars. So with Dr. Burks and myself and probably the rest of the board, when a company come in, you have to request for that company to come in to do their work. Which means you have to call them. That open PO don't say just show up and fix the door. Somebody has to call them. And this $4,000 has to be work that was done. So they have to issue an invoice or a statement saying that this is what I done, and this is how much it costs. And this is where it's at. So that's what needs to be on here. So when we do have an open PO, they're not just showing up. Somebody's calling and say a window broke or a glass broke or whatever, and they will send an invoice. And to be honest with you, we just had a training on that. We've been talking about this, and you was not there, so I'm talking to Mr. Big. So that's where the clarity come in at, because what we doing for the open POs is the right thing to do. So if something needs to be fixed or repaired or replaced, you can call them. But at the same token, for audit purpose and board approval purposes, when the work is done, it should say, oh, the door replacement, repair, security was done at so and so, and this is the amount. Because if not, then the description is what the explanation is as if the people just showing up.
Well, no. So how PO works is, so at the beginning, just saying, it's an open PO. So they approve it in June when we set it up for July. So the open PO is not going to be specific. So the purpose is the district-wide electrical work. So that's why I was telling Mr. Burks, Dr. Burks is, I can type up something and tell you what it's for, because the PO is for $10,000. Nothing changed on the PO. Every time something happens and maintenance have to call them, they come in, they tell them what they need, they invoice them, and we apply the invoice to the same PO. We don't do a PO every time. So the purpose is not gonna change. How our system is set up, the purpose is not gonna change. So that's why I told Mr. Burke, if you want me to, I can type, what it was for and what location. And we can add that, with the documentation. But the PO, it doesn't change. The purpose is gonna be for district-wide electrical work, because it's for anywhere in addition.
I think, we was just told that the Marathon system and the other system that the state, the MDEU statewide, does allow you to put the purpose in on when you input this dollar amount in Marathon, is a drop down in which it allows you. That's what we was told. We don't see that. We don't see the program. I don't know if that's true, but we as a board was just told this 2 days ago that they have a place for open POs that when you input the number in Marathon, that there's a drop down and you can put that purpose on there. And if that is the case in that program, it needs to be attached.
That's what I said. So this is that. So we put it in as an open PO. So So we put all the PO information in, we put the full amount for the entire year. Now, what we can do is, we don't have to do an open, it just takes long for them to get the process through. But we can do one for every job, and then we can be more specific for every job. But with an open PO, it's not specific.
No,
That's what I'm saying.
we're not doing that. And maybe that's what the superintendent, for the sake of time, the superintendent need to verify that information that we was given, because we just was given this information two days ago that states, and I deal with this every day, so we have open POs on my job. So what you put in the description, when you input we don't use Marathon, we use a system called SAP. And in SAP, in that open PO, when I call and say, come fix this door, I can put on there, is 2 men and a dog. That's what they brought with them, 2 men, and then they gonna fix the door. You can put that in your system when it's time for the invoice. And if that is the case, that's what we need to go to, because we was told, for number 1, for auditing purposes, and number 2, for board approval.
Simple, like the claim number 847597. See how you did a breakdown there?
What page?
And that's that'll be on page 7. Quick. And we know that that's different invoices. So that, I mean, like.
That's what I'm saying, so this is an invoice, it's a PO, but it's a different invoice.
Right.
The thing, they're giving us, for that month, we only had that one invoice. But see, even with that, it doesn't, so if they give us one invoice, it's only for that location, but it's not gonna say the location. So that's what I'm saying, so that's why I was like, so you can know.
But even for your records, for our records, do they not?
See, we have the detailed invoice. So the administrator, when they do an open PO, and they call them in, they tell them what they do to work, and they have to sign off on the invoice. So it's a detailed invoice. So what we're putting in is just the invoice number and, the amount. So that's what I was saying. Whenever we get the detailed invoice on the county administrator, go ahead and tell us so we can say this was at this location for this amount. Because they're getting an invoice and it's telling all the specifics. But you all just don't say that you don't see the invoice.
Right, so
yes, sir.
We need that information.
That's what I'm saying. So I can get you.
However you want to do.
Yes, sir.
We need to know where the work is being.
So you just want to know, do you want to know specifically like what's done, or just where the location?
We need to know.
Can we give a detail for what we done and what location?
That's like I don't know if they want the invoice. I don't want to give it to them. I don't know if they want the copy of the invoice or just.
Okay, what I'm saying is it's like the security. Whatever the program will allow. Basically, to make it easier for you, we're not trying to give you more work. All we're asking for is information, because we've been confirmed and given directives as board members that we are responsible.
Right, yes, sir.
Okay? So one way to make us comfortable in saying yes or no is that we are aware of it, saying yes or no. So to help me do that is to say, work was provided at Denman Junior High on the doors, and the cost for that was $500. 3 things. Then I will have to ask questions.
Yes, sir. We can do that.
We don't need the invoice, we don't need none of that.
Okay.
You need the invoice
Right.
for the document financial files. We need the information to know that where it was done and how much it cost and what was done.
Yes, sir.
Okay? The same difference on claim docket number 84576. And I asked this question when we just did a recent walkthrough on some of the campuses. And I see that we have an amount of $7,000. But it says a subscription.
No, that should be for the entire issue. Correct, Mr. Brown, though.
This is for the entire
inside
issue.
the Rhombus
And-
subscription.
Rhombus camera system subscription.
So that's just to
Okay.
set it up.
So
Yes,
that,
sir.
okay, that's for the entire district.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if that's the case, are they responsible for? I mean, what is involved in the subscription? Is the subscription supposed to make sure that they alert you for those cameras that are non-operative? Because we have some. I want to know why, if that's the case, why do we have cameras that are not working?
Yes, sir.
And we had several that were not working on some of the campus that we just visited this weekend.
Yes, sir.
I can actually answer that. There are two current camera systems in the district. There's a system called Milestone that runs the majority of our cameras. We have approximately, I'm just going to estimate, about 100 cameras in it. There are unworking cameras in that system. They're broken due to weather and age. About 3 months ago, I went through every camera in the district and brought about 85% back up. The ones that are not, Mr. Brown and Mr. Vick can see, those are the ones that I have to actually physically replace. The Rhombus was the system that came in through MDE. It was part of a grant. It was done statewide. We were one of the school districts that got it. Those cameras are fairly new. MDE paid the license for those cameras from the time that the grant was available. Now we've had to inherit the cost of those licenses to keep those cameras running. Mr. Brown was the one who paid the cost out of his budget, but he basically paid the licensing cost just so those cameras would actually be accessible for the school district, the principal, the superintendent, so that they could actually be used.
And our plan moving forward is to sunset that Rhombus system, because we will have to pay a subscription every year. Milestone, we don't have to pay a subscription every year. So we're trying to get all of our cameras into Milestone, so we get away from having to pay these redundant subscriptions every year. So this is hopefully the last year we'll have to pay for this. Rhombus cameras won't work on our Milestone system. They don't speak together. So that's the purpose, or if you want to look forward, that's what we're trying to do, is move away from it. Everything is in a system that we already own, basically, and we just buy a license, and once it's in there, it's in there forever.
Well, my reason and my concern is that we had a couple of incidences happen on campus. We asked about footage, and the response was that the camera was working.
Mr.
And
Vick,
I questioned also, who had access. That's another thing. But I have a lot of concern about cameras that are on the outside of the campus, such as the gym.
all the gym cameras, the parking lot, the ones that are in front of it are all working. Every one of them are operational.
The parking lots are working.
They are. They're working after
They were not.
They were not. I actually, Mr. Vick knows, I actually spent about 6 weeks going individually to the system and correcting those cameras one at a time. Because it wasn't something I could go do like all at one time. I had to individually go to each camera, reset them, reprogram them, and put them back in the network. It took me about 6 weeks to finish that. I've got 85% running, the 15% that aren't. Old, broken, water damaged, there are issues that I'm going to have to physically replace. And some of them even may require the cable that runs from them, because that's part of the problem, to be replaced as well.
Yeah, back on the fall of the year, I asked Mr. Big to find out what camera wasn't working, what we can do to get them fixed. If we can't get them fixed, identify the one that we have to replace. So throughout that process, we were able to get up to about 80% actually working throughout the district. Of the other 15 to 20%, they're going to actually have to be replaced.
They will have to be actually stacked and replaced.
My last question is this, and it may not be able to be answered at this time, but can you tell us why do we have 3 different speech vendors, speech therapists?
Well, Ms. Carter isn't currently here, Dr. Bird. I'd like to refer to her.
Mr. Vick, I see we all have as many cell phones on claim document. Have we terminated the services for the phones, the non-working phones in the district?
The ones that are not being used yet, we have that. The ones that are now on there are the ones that we need to run the district safely, that's why school buses that
Okay, thank you.
yeah, we can address those.
Okay, these are, we bought these, all 40 of them throughout the district. They're call rapid radio, it's more like walking talk. But as long as I'm within 26 miles of a cell tower, it's supposed to work. So what we're doing is, this will upstart cost about $5,900. Every year you're gonna pay a $2,000 licensing fee. But as far as those high $2,900 a month cell bills, this will eliminate that. Our SROs will have them, each school will have them, they'll monitor different channels, like this one is for Icon. So they will always be on Icon's channel, but they will monitor the security channel. And like Mr. Diggs used to make an announcement, he can get on there and say, I need all administrators to switch to the security channel. And not everybody has access to that, just certain people, and he can deliver a message, just like if our chief of police wants to do something. So we're trying to get us into the 2026 with a lot of our technology, and these are going to help save money, but also make us much safer as far as immediate response. So we can help everybody.
Thank you, Brown.
Yes.
I have questions going back to the claims document. But when we look at page 5 of the claims document, where it talks about Fort Berry Diesel Services, repairs and labor, you've spent $4,300 such dollars. And the next entry on here, 847575, Fort Berry Diesel Services, repairs to bus number 79. We have details. And that's what we're asking for as a board, is the details. An example would be when we walked the campuses on Saturday, there encountered a building that actually had trees growing into the top of the building. If we don't have details as a school board member, when I visit a school, and I know that I've approved of a claims docket for whatever has been done, I don't know what has been done. And that's I'm hoping that's the issue that Dr. Burks is having, which seeing that Saturday helped me to understand his concern. It's one thing to be kept in the dark. It's a totally different thing when you're walking a campus and you see trees growing into a building, sidewalks that have not over the years been repaired, and they're about to cave in, and various other things going on. But we're supposed to approve of a claims docket and things that are being done, and it's not fair to us as board trustees to walk a campus and see different things undone. And that's where I am with this, is just wondering, Mr. Big, how do we make decisions under your leadership on what's going to be done and what's not being done? Because it makes it seem as if we're trying to get over into the day-to-day, but back to my point that I was making about repairs and labor, we have no idea of what was repaired and what we've actually paid or paying for. And that's what we're looking for, is more clarification so that we'll fully understand what we're approving of. And I think in the workshop that we were in at Southwest College with the School Board Association on Monday night, that's what we're being told, is that it's okay for us to ask those questions for that specific reason. I think when we walked on some sidewalks the other day that really, they're not even safe to be used, they need to be corded off. And this is things that have occurred over a period of time. And my thing is, when a duty is given to keep up with such things, and it hasn't been done over the years, then it's a disgrace. That's how I see it.
Well, Ms. Martin, at this time right now, I just suggest that Mr. Vick, Superintendent Vick, have the opportunity to get with the marathon program and help us out with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions about the claim docket? Next up, we're gonna have the report presentation of the business of the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President. A, we have number 1, 16 session report, number 2, teacher attendance report, number 3, enrollment breakdown report, number 4, discipline report, and number 5, teacher/student of the month report.
Any questions or concerns about the consent agenda item?
On the 16th section, Johnson.
What's your question,
They
Dr. Burks?
consented to ask, that. So they requested for approval for her, new 25-year lease.
Yes.
Okay, so when we approving this lease, are we approving it based upon, that everything is in order going forward? Payments have been
Are we on number 5, approval rate?
The 16th section to approve, because the 16th section has a lease, renewal.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, that lease is actually number 5 on the regular agenda. The Johnson lease to be renewed. It's, I got a note from, Philip with Adams and Reese, and we completed this lease last week, or week before last. At the end of the 10-year term, they have a, they can exercise a, help me if I'm wrong, a secondary term of 25 years. So that's what, the leasing indicated that they want to do.
So how do we, because I thought, 10 years.
Yes, it went from 10 years to 25.
That's what I was confused about. What did we use? I mean, what kind of rationale did we use? What we, with 10 or 25?
With that one, there was language in it that said that the leasing had the option to either go with a 25-year lease after the 10 years was up. So that was a leasee's decision to make as far as if they wanted to do a 25-year. So they chose the 25.
Any more questions?
Regular agenda, number 1, approval of policy revision.
Any questions or concerns? I have a question. Superintendent Vick, and the policy is about pay, schedule. Last year, we voted to go to, bi-weekly or twice a month pay. The salary pay schedule in the policy says single month payroll, and that's no longer, effective anymore. It's supposed to be either bi-weekly or twice a month, bi-monthly.
Yes, ma'am, I'm making a note here, Madam President.
That would actually be on, well, they don't, it's not paid, it's not paid more. And I thought I sent an email, but it might have been for this. Any more questions or concerns about policy revisions?
Number 2, Madam President, approval of request to reject bid and re-advertise cybersecurity. Mr. King, you want to talk on that?
There's a letter attached to the board this time around. The rationale is very simple. All the bids that were received included additional items that were not a part of the actual cybersecurity grant, are either so far out of cost. My recommendation will be to reject all bids and re-advertise. We've actually changed the language in the RFP to limit that happening a second time, but we want to make sure this is a federal grant, that we follow every guideline possible and make sure that we don't cut any corners and handle it the right way. So that's why my recommendation is the way it is for this line.
Any more questions or concerns?
So you're saying all that we received?
Every bid that was received, the last piece I'm recommending that we reject. Yes, sir.
Was there major language that was changed in the one that you?
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, in the opening of the new advertisement and what we're gonna post online, it states that you may not, for any reason whatsoever, add any items that aren't requested on this list. Every person who put a bid in, except one, did that. The bid that did not do that was so outrageous a price, it was actually almost $200,000 more than the grant allowed. So that's why I'm saying that my option when looking at those was to reject every bid that was offered and to re-advertise. I think that's keeping federal money and our money where it's supposed to be. It does put a tighter time frame, but I would always rather err on the side of caution and do the right thing, especially with the federal grant, than I would do anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Beard. Number 3, approval of Macomb School District Strategic Plan Second Review.
Any questions or concerns?
The concerns that I have with, the strategic plan, they have been noted in the plan as, Mr. Biggs had helped me to get those things noted. Are we going through each one of those, or when this was reviewed, was everything understood as far as my concerns? I didn't see anything else that anyone else added. Is that correct, Mr. Biggs? It was just-
You were the only person that sent me or met with me, yes ma'am.
I have mine.
I just have one concern. Ms. Martin requested that we remove the Fine Arts program, but this is a 5-year plan. I suggest that we keep it because the district intent is to bring that program back. So this is for the next 5 years. So if this is our plan, it should be included in that because our intent is to have that program brought back to within the district. So my suggestion for it is to leave it as is. Because that goals, strategic plan is goals that's set for the next couple of years.
Mr. Beard.
If Dr. Burks and Ms. Dillon, if you would like, if you can send me or email me those, because Mr. Big did ask me to address that, I can put them back in with Ms. Martin actually attached, and it will be ready for you to look at the actual board meeting.
Yeah.
With with your approval, of course.
You know, mine is particularly concerned with technology and athletics. So
Yes, sir. If y'all just email me those, I'll include the comments like I did last time. It'll be ready for all to be viewed for the actual board meeting. I'll have time to do that before this week ends. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beard. Number 4, approval of depository bids.
Any questions or concerns?
Number 5, approval of 16th session lease.
Any questions or concerns?
Number 6, approval of advertisement of bids for intercom and paging system.
Questions or concerns?
what, I'm kind of concerned. Well, not, these are the fees, the RFPs for the income system, because I thought we had, what are the funds that we have available?
We actually have the fund that came in for quite some time. I'm gonna put around you address that, then I'm gonna prefer to call.
Yes, we have the funds, it was a loan taken out, it seems like a couple of years ago now. And this was originally in hands of technology, and then this year, I got to ask some questions, and I said, well, these funds are here, we need to get intercom systems updated throughout the district. So this is what that RFP is, so yes, the funds are sitting there, and I don't want to say how much, because I don't think we really are. And put the bid in for that. But I've actually got a very short 2.5-minute video that will show kind of what the overarching plan is for the district. You probably can show it.
I'm fine with as long as we got it, because I thought we had
Yes,
funds.
whatever the funds are.
I'm kind of, well, I know about what it was then, but I don't know what it is
Yes.
now.
Yeah, the funds are here, but, the work was never done. Now we trying to upgrade all our intercom payment system.
Any more questions?
Number 7, approval of request to form a committee for the purpose of renaming Macomb High School gymnasium.
Any questions or concerns? I would like to say that, Selectman Felder is here, she submitted the, request, so, the letter is attached. In order to do that, the policy state that they would have to create, we as a board, we have to create a committee. So if that's the route we have to go next, doing the work, doing the next, not next week, the week after board meeting, we would, approve a committee to see if that's what the, community would like to go to. Any questions or concerns about that?
Number 8, we have approval of personnel renewal classified for 26-27 school year.
Any questions or concerns?
Next, D, we have miscellaneous business out of district transfer request.
Any questions or concerns?
Next, we have personnel recommendation policy CEB.
Any questions or concerns? At this time, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank y'all.
The next board meeting is March the 16th. Mr. Biggs will be posting March the 16th.
Yes, ma'am.